Story 1. The guilt that comes when you're seen eating anything at all. Good for you. If you're seen eating a salad, because the only possible reason a fat dude would eat a salad is to lose weight. The existential dread every time you get a random pain in your chest or a stitch in your side and think this could finally be a heart attack. The fact that you can go days or weeks without really feeling bad about being fat. And then suddenly one day it is all you can notice about yourself. Summer sucks. It is too hot anyway, but being fat makes it hotter. Then you worry that, despite having perfectly good, if not over-the-top hygiene, maybe you are starting to have fat guy smell. Edit. Also, the unsolicited advice from well-intentioned people who act as if we have not heard it all already or do not already know. The difference between logic and emotion is so misunderstood. Story 2. The constant need to physically adjust myself. I wear clothes that fit, but I still have to adjust my clothing and my body position repeatedly to be comfortable and to help my clothing hide what is going on. My thin friends almost never have to adjust their clothes. Story 3. Chafing. It is particularly cruel because it makes you even more likely to avoid walking or exercise, thus ensuring you gain weight. Story 4. As a formerly obese person, I still subconsciously pull my t-shirt down to prevent it from riding up, even though my current non-obese self wears well-fitting clothes. I also notice the glaring looks you get when standing in food lines at buffets or airports. Story 5. Shopping for clothes has different criteria than for skinny people. It's not, ooh, that looks pretty, but, ooh, they actually sell this in size 5 extra large. Story 6. Finding clothes that fit and worrying whether furniture will support you. Story 7. As someone who was once obese and is now just a bit overweight, it is extremely hard to keep the weight off. I still want to eat like I did when I was heavier. Story 8. You dread people taking photos of you because it always ruins your day to see yourself in a photo. Story 9. How it feels when the We Fit trainer says, "That's obese," in her cheerful voice. Story 10. When you are fat but people like you, they will separate your fatness from your character, yet they still talk negatively about fat people in front of you because of their fatness, and you sit there. Story 11. I lost a lot of weight, and family or friend reunions go one of 3 ways. First, people tell you you look great and ask what you did. Second, they say you look much healthier and express concern about your previous weight. Third, and most surprising, they insult or complain about your heavier self as if that person were completely different. Number 3 does not come from people you normally have contentious relationships with or those who use tough love or hard joking. You expect jokes from them. Surprisingly, it comes from people you were very close to, sometimes from those who never speak badly of anyone. The hardest thing I heard was, "I'm surprised we were even friends." Similarly, a friend who later learned I had been much heavier said she would not have been friends with me. Those comments stick with you, even more than the insults you received when you were heavier. They are harder because they validate the insecurities you had about your weight, how people perceive you, and how conditional some of your closest relationships actually are. Because of depression and quarantine, I have put some of that weight back on, and those remarks still come to mind when I feel insecure. Story 12. How you become expected to be the garbage disposal. Oh hey, there is leftover cake from a coworker's birthday. We'll take it to another coworker. They will eat it. Or the last donut. Then they get upset when we say no and say it will go to waste because I am already overweight, so what does it matter, right? Story 13. How easy it is to go from a normal weight to obesity almost without noticing, until you try on new clothes or see photos of yourself. Story 14. I have gone from heavy to light and back several times, and that cycle takes a massive toll on the body. I have always felt mentally obese in terms of the space I think I take up in the world. Even at my lightest, about 10 pounds above my ideal weight, I would check every chair to make sure it was not rickety, turn sideways to pass between objects when it was unnecessary, and I amusement park rides and theater seats because I thought I would not fit comfortably. Obesity has a huge impact on the body but also on the mind. It is why people tell men to have sex with a fat woman because they assume she will be grateful. It is also a little armor. If anyone is going to make fun of me, it will be for one thing: being fat. No other insecurities are ever targeted. I am seen as only one thing, so I have become fairly okay with people pointing it out. Story 15. The fear of bringing up any health concern, no matter how minor, because people automatically assume it is due to your weight. Story 16. We know we are fat. Trust me, I know. Losing it is harder than it was to gain. I know I just ate, but my body is screaming that it is starving. I get lightheaded and nauseous, as if I had not eaten all day, even though I ate an hour ago. I know a lot of people think drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy are cheating, but Wegovy has literally changed everything. I can eat a healthy portion of food and be satisfied. Story 17. Think about how much internalized shame we carry. If you have seen someone who is very skinny struggle with feeling they are too fat and feel guilty about their appearance, that same shame lives inside many of us. We are honestly doing the best we can with subpar healthcare and normalized stigma. Story 18. From a woman's perspective, some men act as if you are not allowed to say no or to reject them. Many men assume that because you are overweight, you must be lonely and should be grateful for any male attention you receive. Story 19. How painful life can be. I am not obese anymore. Last year I weighed about 375 pounds and I was obese then. Living was painful. People told me to exercise, that I would get a runner's high, and that it would be easy. Now, life is painful at nearly 400 pounds. Everything was so hard. I now weigh about 210 pounds. Life is not painful anymore. I still hate exercise, but when I exercise I get tired or exhausted depending on the intensity. I no longer experience suicidal urges or come close to injury. Be kind to your obese friends. Story 20. This is how people treat you, with active disdain. People glare, scoff, and make faces of disgust when they see you. Strangers feel free to honk at you and shout insults from their cars when you walk along the road. The hatred is intense. Story 21. You're at greater risk of receiving poor medical care when you are obese. Physicians often tell patients to lose weight instead of ordering tests or providing proper medical evaluation. Story 22. I feel inhuman being obese and painfully aware of it in public, from people's up and down glances, coldness, curt responses, and avoidance. I also get unsolicited dieting advice and assumptions when I say I am making lifestyle changes. I have researched fitness and health, read extensively on obesity and metabolic dysfunction, and watched many technology, entertainment, design talks, and YouTube experts. I went vegan, tried a ketogenic diet, did juicing and fasting. I had blood tests and saw doctors, specialists, and dietitians. I know a lot and I am always learning. I have lost over 100 pounds since December, yet people still chime in, just cut out soda, just eat less and move more, try a ketogenic diet, try bariatric procedures, and so on. I never drank soda. I have always been a water drinker and I enjoy seltzer and herbal tea. I prefer to eat my calories, not drink them. I do eat less now and move more. My sedentary obesity stemmed from unhealed childhood trauma. I had a coping habit of binge eating, experienced severe agoraphobia, and spent years housebound. I have a history of suicide attempts and survived a toxic relationship. I was aware of the mindset that contributed to my poor health, and I had to face that first. I have finally done so. I do not expect people to know or care. I hated myself far more than anyone ever could. Story 23. Unless you are a medical professional who specializes in weight loss, there is probably nothing you can say to someone about their weight that they have not heard or are not aware of. Story 24. Just because we are obese does not mean we cannot do physical activity. People should not be surprised that we can participate. I have heard that reaction when I go to play soccer or other sports. I am not the fittest person playing, but that does not mean I will be harmed if I run around for a while. Story 25. For some of us, losing weight is extremely difficult. Some medications can make you excessively hungry. Those with long-term depression and anxiety often use food as a source of comfort. We know it is a poor choice, but in the moment we think of nothing but eating something tasty. Having people patronize us makes things worse, not better. Story 26. I'm fat. I know it. I'm not surprised. I know exactly what it would take to lose the weight because I've done it before. But I like food, I hate exercise, I have a sedentary job, and my wife finds me attractive as I am, so there is no immediate incentive to lose weight. I know it will likely shorten my life. Sleep apnea, high cholesterol, or something else could end my life a decade or two earlier than if I lost 100 pounds. No one who wheezes going up half a flight of stairs genuinely believes they are not overweight or that they are as healthy as a fitter person. It does not matter what they post online saying big is beautiful. We all know. Story 27. I lost 180 pounds after gastric bypass surgery 22 months ago. While the physical changes are amazing, the best thing is that my mind can focus on things other than my weight. I hadn't realized that thoughts about my weight and food were a constant background chatter. Can I park close enough to the supermarket door to get inside without stopping? Or will the cafe have any chairs I can fit into? So much of that has dropped away. I wasn't fully aware it had been clogging my thoughts until it was gone, like the way you only notice your radiators at night when the boiler turns off and they fall silent. I am now at peace. Story 28. It feels hot even when people around you feel cold. I have lost some weight over the last couple of months and had to raise the temperature on the air conditioning, which was unexpected. Story 29. A lot of people do not understand that food addiction is just like any other addiction. They treat you like a disgusting pig and ask why you cannot just stop eating, eat healthier, or be better. With addictions such as alcohol or heroin, the goal is to wean you off the substance and then avoid it. You cannot do that with food. You have to relearn how to nourish yourself and see food as fuel. People treat you better when you are thin. If you are fat and trying to eat healthily or work out, you are still stared at and made fun of. If you eat unhealthily, you are stared at and made fun of. You cannot win. People still think it is okay to be mean to and make fun of fat people because it is entirely their fault. You see it all over Reddit. Binge eating disorder is an eating disorder just like anorexia nervosa. But anorexia nervosa gets much more pity and understanding than binge eating disorder. Story 30. It is really easy to gain weight over time. You get a sedentary job and snack occasionally, and in the evening you watch TV or read a book instead of going out. So you weigh 3 pounds more than you did at this time last year. No big deal, right? Now multiply that by 15 years or so. Suddenly it is your 40th birthday and you weigh 50 pounds more than you did in college. It is not because you eat 2 boxes of Oreos a night, you just gained a little year after year. Also, it is a lot harder to lose weight when you are heavier. When I was 25 and thought I had gained a few pounds, I would start jogging. Pretty soon I could run 2 or 3 miles at a shot and problem solved. Now I am older and heavier, which means I am more prone to injury. I try to work out and my knees start hurting or I aggravate an old foot injury, which is frustrating. There are workarounds, of course. I can swim and I can lift weights, but it is all harder than it was when I was young. Story 31. It is hard to lose weight, especially when you also struggle with depression. I need to lose 50 kilograms badly. Story 32. People give so much advice. Why eating an apple is healthier than a cookie or why being overweight is dangerous. I know you are worried and I appreciate it. I know these things. I am trying to keep up with you, but I cannot run a mile every day. I can walk at my own pace and eliminate what I can, but it is not working for me the way it used to. Story 33. Sometimes medications make you gain weight. For example, I am trying to lose the extra 40 pounds I have put on since my cancer treatment. And here I thought chemotherapy would make me skinny. Story 34. Fat people wear their pain on the outside. Many thin people have major mental illnesses and addictions, but those conditions are not visible and they are perceived as normal. People with visible weight-related issues are judged more than others with addiction because visibility influences perception. I am donating my body to the Mayo Clinic and including a letter about my lifelong struggle with my weight. I hope they can study my brain to find the cause and help treat it for future generations. Story 35. When I was obese, people judged and treated me very poorly. Some of that treatment probably wasn't even intentional. After I lost a lot of weight, people began treating me much better. I hate to say it, but pretty privilege is a major factor in the world. Story 36. Being invisible. You are assumed guilty of anything not just related to food, simply because you are overweight. Overweight people, especially women, are far more likely to be found guilty in United States courts. It is ironic that a person can be invisible until someone needs to assign blame. Story 37. I am not obese, but my sturdy friend says you always get that look when boarding a plane in economy class because everyone hopes to God you will not be sitting next to them. Story 38. I have lost 50 pounds, but I am still struggling to lose weight. Every day feels like an uphill fight, and it is really depressing. Story 39. I used to be obese. The worst thing for me was how people looked at me. I would try to make friends, and the first thing they would do was look at me in disgust. Story 40. I doubt anyone will see this, but I'll give it a shot anyway. What you do not understand is that for many of us this is a real disease and not some failure of character. I would not have accepted that statement a year ago, but as someone who was 406 pounds or more last April and is now 268 pounds and falling, I have a radically different perspective. I have been large nearly my whole life. I am 45 today. Last New Year's I decided to give up. I had tried diets, going to the gym nonstop, hypnosis, and medically supervised high-risk medications. Through all of it, if I lost anything at all, it came right back. Then my doctor told me about a new class of drugs, and I decided to try them. The day after my first dose, I prepared a meal, got about 1/3 of the way through it, and felt full. It was a very odd feeling because I do not think I have felt full since I was a teenager. I stopped constantly thinking about what I would have for my next meal. I stopped snacking so much. I started getting mobility back that I had written off as gone forever. Did I suddenly develop willpower or a new sense of personal responsibility? No to both. The chemical triggers for hunger my body had overproduced for decades were greatly diminished. Suddenly, dieting was a real possibility. I did not stop getting hungry. I simply knew when I had had enough and stopped eating. Since then I have been swimming, biking, working with a punching bag, and feeling better than I have in my entire adult life. My relationship with food changed because the physical condition I have can finally be medically managed. If I had the metabolism most people are born with, I would have been enjoying these activities for decades. Losing weight is still hard work, but I have always done the hard work. It is finally paying off. I have never been lazy. I have a great career I worked very hard for and a loving home. Until now, however, I had an unmanaged medical condition. I do not announce it everywhere, but I am open about how I have been losing weight to those who ask. You can see the "oh, you're cheating" judgment cross some faces while they congratulate you and walk away. Would you accuse someone with cancer of cheating for taking an effective medication? If you get a large cut and have stitches, would society say, you could have just held the skin together and healed yourself? The science shows that a significant amount of obesity is caused by a legitimate physical problem, not lack of willpower. Sure, some people are simply not disciplined, but they are not as common as you have been led to believe. I am the same person I have always been. The rest of the world can now see it. Story 41. Losing weight is very hard. The system is tilted towards staying fat. You eat a slice of pizza and think you will just run it off. But when you do the math, a pizza that takes 3 minutes to eat requires 40 minutes of running. Weight training helps because stronger muscles burn more calories. But after 2 jobs, 2 children, errands, and chores, by the time you are ready to go to the gym you are exhausted and just want to vegetate on the couch. Even if you lose the weight, you face a life of constant vigilance. If you slip, old habits and emotions return like a train. Food addiction is real. Story 42. When you are addicted and stop using drugs or curb other bad habits, you are expected to stop completely, to remove them from your life and never return. Imagine trying to stop using cocaine but instead taking a small amount each day and never more, despite your body craving it all day. Or taking only 3 puffs of a cigarette each day but no more. You cannot simply stop eating. You must restrain yourself multiple times each day, eating only enough to stay healthy while craving much more. Story 43. There is an incredible link between adverse childhood experiences and obesity, especially in women. Many people who are obese became so because of trauma they experienced in childhood. I am also posting the 10 questions used to determine someone's adverse childhood experiences score. Scores over 3 correlate with significant increases in a variety of problems in adulthood. My adverse childhood experiences score is 8. I have been in therapy every 2 to 3 weeks for 2 years, working through trauma and trying to become mentally healthy enough to lose weight. Even my doctor does not understand this. Story 44. I sometimes like to treat myself when eating out, but I often receive looks and comments for ordering nice food. There are also issues that can occur after significant weight loss, such as loose skin. I dislike having to use strong antimicrobial cleaners every day to avoid skin infections. Story 45. It is usually not as simple as saying just stop eating. Eating can be an addiction or a compulsion. That does not mean it is impossible to overcome food issues, but it is harder than many people acknowledge. Story 46. Shaming is not helpful or motivating. The health of a stranger is not your business unless you are their doctor, you are their parent and they are under 18, or you are that person. If you are a doctor, take your patient's concerns seriously, no matter their weight. Do not just write them off. Story 47. I don't want to eat with you. Eating with people is an invitation to be shamed. Every special occasion I have had, such as my college graduation and the birth of my children, someone, usually my dad, always says, "You did a good thing, but you're still fat. Maybe you could work on that now." Story 48. Fat cells do not disappear from dieting. They only shrink. They plump back up as soon as they can. It can take at least 7 years of sustained weight loss to eliminate fat cells, so a successful diet may take 10 years even with the best commitment. No wonder diet plans fail. Story 49. I was obese at 340 pounds, lost 120 pounds, and became very strong. 1. That we do not want to be obese. It is not something someone who has never been obese would understand. My addiction to food and emotional eating absolutely took over my life. 2. That people treat you differently. I felt a change in the way people close to me, spoke about me, or showed interest in me after I got into shape. It was awful. The real kicker is you start to tie your self-worth to your weight because of it. That pressure almost always results in relapses and weight gain, which then leads to deeper depression. 3. Clothes do not fit. To be fair, I am 6 feet 4 inches with wide shoulders, so nothing fits no matter my weight. However, being obese was constantly an issue with clothes. I was very uncomfortable and often wore the same 3 or so t-shirts everywhere. I literally wore 5 different shirts when I left the house for a full year. I felt humiliated, but they were the only ones I felt somewhat comfortable in. Washing clothes was difficult because they would tighten up. 4. Eating in a booth is miserable. There were so many places where I could not fit in a booth. It is depressing to ask for a table for that reason, or to be horribly uncomfortable and embarrassed for the entire meal. To anyone who is obese and starting to lose weight, keep your 4X large shirts and pants. When I lost 120 pounds, about 60 pounds in, I was more depressed than when I started. It was so hard. I will never forget it. A caloric deficit can do that to you. The one thing that helped most was that I kept the giant t-shirts I used to wear. One night when I was at rock bottom and ready to give up, I put one on and it was like a dress. I could not see my progress in the mirror. I was so used to hating my appearance that I could not trust my own judgment of progress. But seeing that shirt and how comically big it was helped me so much. Keep those clothes. They are a reminder of where you came from. Story 50. I know I'm fat. I don't need to be reminded. I'm doing the best I can on this airplane. I bought a window seat so I can get an extra 2 to 3 inches along the wall, and I'm over there as far as I can be. I'm terrified you will be upset that I might touch you. I'm so sorry. I'm trying my best to stay on my side. Story 51. Having to choose the perfect outfit every time you leave the house can be stressful. Many people with obesity feel self-conscious about their bodies and wear larger or looser clothing to feel more comfortable. This can make you overanalyze the weather and other factors. Layering incorrectly can leave you too hot or too cold later. Story 52. If fat shaming worked, there would not be any fat people. Also, yes, I exercise 3 to 5 days a week and follow a diet. I do not eat junk food all the time. Story 53. Former fatty here. Telling an obese person they should lose weight is like yelling at a crying child to stop. We know. Your response is not that insightful. Story 54. People who are overweight often face disrespect, especially women. Even if they are kind, funny, and intelligent, others may focus only on their weight instead of their qualities. Story 55. We know we are obese or overweight. You do not need to point it out or offer unsolicited help. Most of us know how to lose weight, but our brains sabotage us. Some of us are trying to be healthier, but something gets in the way. Right now, I am 6 feet tall and weigh 360 pounds. This is the second time I have been around that weight. At one point, I got down to 225 pounds, but when I looked in the mirror, I still saw the same person every morning. Weight loss also requires addressing the mental side. Story 56. Especially as an overweight child, finding school uniforms that fit was difficult. My family had to drive to multiple towns to find a store that sold children's uniforms in my size. Almost none did. Each year we went from store to store, which was an embarrassing chore. They could not provide simple uniforms for me. I was not extremely large, but it was a clear inconvenience for my family to travel and waste gas only to be told there were no options. I had to wear men's uniforms with belts just to attend school, and it did not stop the bullying. Story 57. People judge harshly without context, especially if I do not act like I have terrible self-esteem or beat myself up when they mention my weight or losing weight. I am on several medications that can contribute to weight gain. My baseline weight has not changed since we found the right medication dosages, regardless of diet and activity. I still receive unsolicited advice, and people get angry when I decline their suggestions. They were also upset that I did not drop every other huge problem in my life to try to lose weight. The medication stopped suicidal thoughts, mania, psychosis, rapid cycling, delusions, insomnia, rage, and almost everything else that made me close to dying. It took about 3 years to find a combination that allowed me to be mostly sane and functioning. My life was so dangerous before that I refused to change the medication just to maybe lose weight. I am only now feeling ready to try losing weight, but all of my doctors want to be involved because of how high risk I used to be. Being overweight is better for my health than being in a psychiatric ward or dead. Even people who know what I have been through have gotten angry that I do not care as much about losing weight as they do. Story 58. Today, my wacky boss took my work group on a surprise trip to a zip-line adventure park. I had to psych myself up to try a harness in front of everyone, and it did not fit. The person fitting me just shrugged. Several colleagues said, "Ah, you do not want to do it?" Later, a colleague told me the other harnesses were bigger. Why did no one offer me one when the first did not fit? I had to psych myself up again to ask for a different harness. Story 59. I have gotten into good shape and fallen out of it several times in my life. The worst thing is how poorly people treat you when you are overweight. Everybody suddenly loves you when you get thinner. I guess people never leave high school mentally. Story 60. I have limited places I can comfortably go because of the width of my rear. I would love to go to a concert, a movie, or travel by plane, but it literally hurts to wedge myself into a seat and I lose circulation in my legs if I cannot move. I would also like to go on roller coasters or Ferris wheels. I do not lack desire. Additionally, using public toilets is extremely uncomfortable. I prefer to use the accessible stall, and I despise the times I have had to use a regular stall. It is much worse when I am on my period. I feel like I always have to be tidy, smell good, and be put together to make up for people being inconvenienced by my presence. Story 61. Here is a positive in a thread full of negatives. I am much stronger than you think. Every moderately active obese person is stronger than others with the same level of activity, especially in the legs. Despite my size, my calf muscles are incredibly shredded. Story 62. You are in constant mental and physical pain, and everyone judging you only exacerbates your suffering. Story 63. I lost 160 pounds and noticed a significant change in how people treated me in public. Story 64. You have to consider so many things. Will I fit in that chair? Is there a place to sit? Will I be on camera? Who will I sit next to? Is there a lot of walking? Story 65. If you visit a doctor and you are obese, the doctor will say it is because of your weight. Story 66. Fat can insulate you from unwanted sexual attention. Consider the correlation between sexual abuse and obesity. Sometimes those layers are intended to keep harm out. You develop armor against insults and weight-based stigma. Ironically, you trade one form of abuse for another. Story 67. I'm hot. Like all the time. How are you not cold right now? Well, Debbie, I'm currently wearing a permanent fat suit, so it tends to keep the heat in. Story 68. How much we hate ourselves and how deep that hate runs. I can't look at myself in a mirror. Story 69. I feel so sad and ashamed of taking up space. Story 70. I know that I am fat. You do not have to remind me. It often does not feel like a choice. I fully understand how weight loss works. I understand the physics. Calories in must be less than calories out. And I know that weight loss is 90% determined by diet and has little to do with exercise. But the cravings and the urges to eat certain foods do not feel like a choice. I am aware that it is a choice, but when I am craving something, it feels like every part of my body wants it. It is incredibly hard to say no, and I have cried and been depressed over saying no to a cookie. Although weight loss is 90% about the food you eat, the mental aspect is even more significant. Story 71. Many of us are this way because of trauma, and we struggle to lose weight because we are not healed. We do not choose this. We deserve at minimum compassion, or at least not to be treated like freaks. Story 72. I am sincerely trying to lose weight. I do not mean to take up so much space, and I am aware of how large I am. I try to make myself as small as possible. The medications I take to stabilize my brain unfortunately have side effects, and I am trying to be proactive about them. I am 5 feet 7 inches and 300 pounds. I am doing my best. Story 73. I've been morbidly obese since I was 6 years old. I literally don't know any other life. At my heaviest, I was 5'7" and 435 pounds. At my lowest, I got down to about 235 pounds. I'm currently at 300 pounds. The mind games that number plays with your self-worth. People who are not obese tell you it's just a number and you shouldn't let it affect you, but you are treated differently and they are not. I'm gay. Some of my gay friends act like they deserve medals for including me in brunches, for being nice to me, for treating me decently. At the same time, I don't get invited to the bathhouses, the orgies, or any of the parties in Palm Springs. They want to be treated like saints while excluding me from core parts of our culture. There is the chubchaser community. Fat men in the gay community are fine to exist as long as we stay in our designated fat guy zones. But if we venture out, we become invisible. We are scoffed at. Every once in a while, someone will walk up, place a hand on our shoulder, and say we're beautiful as they quickly walk away, making sure they get something positive out of the interaction while we are left to dance with ourselves. Being gay and obese is a nightmare. When I was at another low point, about 230 pounds, many more people spoke to me. More people would start conversations with me or say hi on the street. It really is a mind fuck to my human experience. This weight was put on me when I was very young. I really don't know any other life. It's a goddamn curse. I've tried my whole life to beat it. I'm 41. Every day that I am not 435 pounds is a success, but the majority of my life I have been obese. Even if I lose all my weight, I'm gonna look like a deflated balloon. I think a lot about what it would be like to be a normal size, what it would be like to feel that basic humanity that we give one another. Tears me up. I'm really sore about it. Story 74. Bigger clothing sizes are often just modifications of smaller sizes and not actually made to fit larger people. The obesity classification does not account for different body types. I am tall, broad, a G cup with a large butt. I have high muscle mass, work out regularly, and eat moderately. Even at my healthiest, I will be classified as obese. This is similar to the clothing issue. Standards are set to a particular body type and do not adjust accordingly. Story 75. I fear gaining even more weight. It sounds dumb, but I am always worried people will stop loving me when I reach a new high. Story 76. People will dislike you just for being fat, especially straight men who act like bros. The number of people who have been rude or unfriendly to me for no other reason is astounding. Story 77. I'm always told I'm so bubbly or funny. I recently lost about 25 pounds unintentionally after starting a new job, which changed my eating habits and routines. People, including family, began telling me I looked like I had lost weight and that I looked good. And this made me feel more self-conscious than before. Story 78. Even doctors sometimes cannot see past a patient's weight, and that blind spot can be deadly. I was told my difficulty breathing was due to weight-induced asthma and was advised to diet and exercise. After almost a year, I found a pulmonologist who reviewed my results and said it was not asthma. Through a chain of random events, I learned I have a very rare type of lung cancer caused by an even rarer medical condition, neither of which is related to my weight. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.